Today, I am going to take you through IEW resources that I've purchased for our homeschool and give you my honest take on how they worked for us and who I think that they're really a good fit for. Hi, I'm Greta, a real estate broker with an MBA from Wharton who surprisingly found joy homeschooling 3 eclectic kiddos, currently ages 6, 9, and 11. I swapped boardrooms for board games and turned learning into a lifelong adventure. Here's where I would normally tell you that if you're a type A gone astray, still chasing checklists, but learning to slow down, welcome, you're in good company. But since you're watching a video about IEW, I'm guessing you're in search of a more structured, type A approved resource. IEW tends to appeal to parents who love or think their child needs clear steps and checklists. After I take you through these resources, I'll talk more about who it's a good fit for. And if you are looking for specific resources, just check the chapters on the video and I'll take you through all of the resources that I have here. This is Tools for Young Writers. It is a reference guide for them that they put stickers on as they go throughout the curriculum. Not these little stickers. I did the red, yellow, and green just to match up to when he's doing some of his lessons. I use a specific color for those. So this is a sticker. This is a sticker. And more stickers will go here. We're not quite finished with the curriculum yet, but as we go through each of the lessons, if there's a sticker that refers to that unit, then it goes here on this resource guide. My son pulls this out a lot, not when we're just doing IEW lessons, but he's like, wait, was that a preposition? And he'll pull this out and look here. So I started IEW with my older kids with structure and style type class on OutSchool. That was my intro to IEW, and I'm glad that I'm starting it with my youngest one, doing it with him myself and using their resources because I found that it's really helped my kids get structure in their writing. So we have some strong verbs, quality adjectives, ly adverbs. This concept is used throughout IEW, and I'm glad that they introduce it to the littles early on. So what I use for him, and it doesn't come exactly like this. I split up the materials throughout these 2 binders. I use one more like a teacher reference guide. So I made a mistake in what I purchased, but I'm going to show you what I have because there's one that's like a teacher guide, a teacher to be used in schools. I purchased that. It's this one, the classroom version, and there's also a homeschooling version. I didn't realize I had purchased 2, and I actually liked the classroom version. It's just that I have a lot of adaptations to do. Not a lot, but there's some. Anyway, I'll take you through both. You can see what might work for you, or please put in the comments if you have specific questions, because I don't want the video to be too long. I have a lot of resources. I just want to kind of take you through and see what might appeal to you. And I'm doing this now, noting that right now IEW is offering free shipping. But if you're watching this video later, no worries. Stay tuned or hop on my email list and I'll keep you in a loop of when sales and promos like this pop up. I purchased all of these items because I genuinely believe that they would help my children in various areas of language arts. Now, as an IEW brand ambassador, I'm sharing our experience so you can decide if it's the right fit for your family. If you decide to try IEW, please consider using my affiliate link. I would receive a small commission at no extra cost to you, and I sincerely appreciate it. So this is week 1, 5 days of laid out instructions, how you're covering poetry, grammar, phonics, and handwriting. So when my son started this, he still had the pencil grip like this or was just getting out of it. And he's doing a whole lot better now. He holds his pencil correctly. His writing is very neat because this program is very structured. He already knew what the letters were, but if your child doesn't, it gives you, a guide. And I did go through these things with him just rather briefly. If I already knew that he had mastered like what the letters are, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I'm doing a quick flip through just so you can get an idea of what's in here. So here we're still talking about pre-writing, and it's oral. At this stage, they're not really doing much writing other than their letters. But he really started to enjoy the poetry. And if you notice, I condensed this. This was supposed to be, over 5 days. I did it in 2 because I knew where my son was. I had already purchased the curriculum, and I thought that there were pieces of this that are very valuable for him to have as a foundation. So I just didn't spend a lot of time on it if I knew that he already had some of this information down. What I really like about this is that we're a unit study approach type family in our homeschooling, and it has lesson extensions. So it gives you a physical education activity, something for art, something for science, math, social studies, literature, and music. So I really like that. Here's an example. We go through Humpty Dumpty, and we read the poem on the first day. We talk about grammar and mechanics like fall, add fall to your verb list. I forgot that I used this little card box. So on here, I chose a color for different types of words. So adjectives, I made yellow. You can use all white cards if you want. Compound words, we had onomatopoeia here. Nouns, I used white. And then verbs. So at this stage, he was writing his own cards. And sometimes I do it, sometimes he does it. Normally, I'll do it because that's not really the lesson of the day, is to have him do that handwriting with the words. But it might ask for synonyms for something, and then I would ask him, and I would involve his older siblings too. They kind of like shouting out when they can think of synonyms or antonyms for something. This is the example. So, big, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. So, synonyms for great would be big, gigantic, tremendous, colossal, enormous, and substantial. These are the kind of words that they're getting exposed to, this vocabulary in kindergarten, and I think that that is marvelous. Okay, I'm not going to take you through everything because we have a lot to get through. I just want you to get an idea of the different kinds of lesson plans. So here at week 8, we are still in the oral to written stage. It was, I think, around lesson 14 that he started doing his own keyword outlines. I'll take you through that in the other binder. So again, it doesn't come like this. This is pages that we haven't done yet. But it comes together in one packet, and I split it up into the 2 binders because it's easier for me to have one resource. This is not IEW at the front here. It's a handwriting curriculum that I had. Actually, I got it for free, and I keep trying to use it because I think it's helpful for them to see where to start each letter, but that's neither here nor there. And this is an IEW review, but this is for Stella Dot. I do like that it shows where to start the letter. So I have that in the front of here just as a reminder for my kiddo. But here is where it tells you more about the curriculum and the pacing. Here is an example of what I would have him identify. What's the noun? That wasn't part of the curriculum, but I figured, hey, my kid can take it. Here, underline the noun, circle the verb. On each of these pages, it's like, okay, draw a picture, which I think is completely age appropriate for this level. And after a while, sometimes he doesn't feel like drawing. He's not so much into art, but sometimes he liked it and he would do it. Anyway, what I did, and this is where the colored stickers on here come in, is that I would have him, eventually I got consistent. I think in the beginning I wasn't, but I said, okay, let's identify the nouns. And that's in green. Here, what's a pronoun? That's in orange. Adjectives in red. And adverbs in yellow. I don't think we had gotten to that yet on week 6. But that's what I use these sticker colors for. The blue is the verbs. That's not something that's in the instructions, but it's a way that I figured I would extend his learning because he's going to be getting to it over time in this curriculum. So I just started early. So here we talked about the story elements, character, setting, what's the problem, conclusion. And since he still was developing his handwriting, I would sometimes, like, he wrote this by himself, but I might write it lightly and then have him trace. Most of that was to be like an oral exercise, but I was having him practice his handwriting at the same time. Here is an example of the handwriting lesson that would be within the curriculum. So it's just saying right below here what's written above. Copywork. Okay, so this, so you can kind of see where his handwriting was. The size here isn't as large as the size here. So that, I would like it if it was consistent, but we did fine. Now, with the way that I was having him practice his letters, we weren't doing the loops the curves on some letters, so I just, go in and say, make sure that yours is straight. If you're using a specific font for your handwriting lessons, like Denelian or something, you could adjust accordingly, or your child could learn how to write it in 2 different ways. Here, by lesson 13, week 13 is where we started getting into keyword outlines, which is a common concept within IEW, and it's introduced in this kindergarten level, which I love. So for the lesson, it is this piece of writing. So there's the poem, which is consistent throughout the lessons. You go over a piece of poetry, you talk about it, maybe the setting, the nouns, the sounds, and then in the middle of the curriculum, they start to introduce a nonfiction piece. And from here, they start to learn how to do a keyword outline. So this one, you would identify the 3 key words from each sentence and then be able to retell the story by just looking at those words, looking up, thinking, and then speaking. It's giving them great practice with public speaking, speeches, and learning to take the information and communicate it back. So once he did that, I would then have my other child, I think this was my older son's handwriting, say what my younger son had just recited back to him. So he wrote it out in sentences. Same thing here. And here. The first step in that is to identify within the sentence. He'd circle the keywords and then he would write them down. So these are just samples. If you wanted to keep more for a portfolio or something, they tell you, well, here's what I like. So at the top of the page, it says take home page, or, so I think all of these, yeah, these are all the take home pages. But in another area, it tells you to save these as portfolio pages. So like right here, portfolio page, portfolio page. So here is a much smaller stack of papers to feel like you need to keep. You don't need to keep everything. All right, so that is what we use for our kindergarten curriculum. And the tools, I just remembered that I have this in this box, but it's not 2A. I was just storing it. So for kindergarten, I also have this all about spelling, which as you can see is unused because I haven't started the spelling curriculum with him. What I have him do is, I have a couple, you'll see eventually if you keep watching my channel, I have so many resources. I might have a spelling workbook here or there or something, or I'll just do an oral lesson or something, a book that we're reading, I'll make that his spelling lesson. So I have not used all about spelling. I have nothing to say good or bad about it. I didn't want one more thing to try to figure out how to use. So this still exists. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but what I have for later for him, probably 1st or 2nd grade, is going to be people and places in our community. We haven't used this yet either, but it is a typical IEW curriculum that you would use if you know how to teach the courses. So there's the teaching structure and style course for the parent that would teach you how to teach any of the IEW courses, or you can watch the videos, see how Andrew Prudawa teaches it, and then I think you'd be good to go from there. Everything does come with an activation card for the online materials and instructions on how to set up your binder and your book. Let's go to Phonetic Zoo, which is the spelling curriculum that is recommended, I think, for, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know it's not for undergrade 2. So this is what the cards look like. It's called Phonetic Zoo. It covers phonics, spelling, and then there's obviously animals. That's why it's called zoo. So there is a jingle or a hint that's recited, and then there are word lists for different levels. So you would give your child an assessment at the beginning. If they get a certain number of the words correct, then you'll know which level to place them in. So right now I have my middle and older child going through list A. Once they finish that, they'll go through list B and then through list C. For all of the lessons. So you just do, let's say, list A for lesson 1 through 45. Sorry, through 47. Every 5th lesson is a personalized spelling list. So you go through 4 lessons of words that they give you, and on lesson 5, you would identify what words you struggled with on here. You're supposed to get them right 2 days in a row, all of the words, and then you know that you can move on to the next lesson. Any words that they didn't get correct throughout the first 4 lessons would be added to their personal spelling list on lesson 5. I have them right on a different sheet of paper because I had just one copy of this, but I happened to find another copy of it at a used curriculum sale. So I could have them right on this, but they're used to writing on a sheet of paper. Any words that they got incorrect throughout the intermediate 4 lessons, like lessons 6 through 9, would go on lesson 10. They'll keep a track of, and then anything that we're doing in another curriculum, let's say social studies, or if I have them writing something out, whatever we're looking up at the time, and I see they wrote something incorrectly, spelled it incorrectly, then I'll add it to their spelling list. So the words on lesson 5, 10, 15, 20 may or may not be in line with the theme. Like this one is obviously AI and AY words. But if they have a word that they spelled incorrectly, like blackbird, I still would put it on their spelling list for week 5, for lesson 5. Okay, that's the concept of Phonetic Zoo. It comes with these little spelling zoo cards, they're called, and you can give them to your child as a reward if they want to collect them. I didn't even mention that to my kids because I just wanted to keep all the curriculum together. It has the jingle or hint and then the topic on the other side. So you could use these as smaller flashcards. You could do the same thing with these, use them as flashcards, or you speak it to them. But the concept is for it to be child-led. So this is the parent guide. It has the same thing, same word list and the jingle. But there are things, there's just one short page for the parent to review before the child moves on to the next lesson. Things that you might want to point out to the child. But other than that, this is really self-service. There are CDs or it's a downloadable. I have it saved in Google Drive. They just go to the file. They say, okay, I'm on lesson 24. They find lesson 24, list A. They push play, and the recording reads out the jingle or the hint, and then we'll read out each of the words. That's when the child just has a sheet of paper where they write down the word, the spelling. That's it. And they'll write it once, and then the column next to it, after all the words are read twice, then they'll read the word again and spell it. So the instructor will spell the word. They'll say snake, S-N-A-K-E. So on the second column of the paper, the child will write S-N-A-K-E. I should show you instead of just telling you about this. So here's an example. Lesson 17, tummy. The recording says tummy, and then tummy, and he writes it down. And then reads through, says all the words, and then the recording says tummy, T-U-M-M-Y, tummy, T-U-M-M-Y. Then we'll go to the next one, and this is how they check their own work. And then if they got something incorrect, I tell my child to circle it, and that way they know if they need to do that lesson again. So you have to get the entire list correct 2 days in a row before you move on to the next lesson. And this is a word that would then go on the spelling list for lesson 20. Next, we are going to go through the resource packet that is optional. It doesn't come with any of the sets that I know of, but it's a good place for the child to have as a reference guide. So this will talk about making keyword outlines. So it's each of the units that are taught within Structure and Style and the theme lessons, but here it's just an easy resource guide to go to if you want to find the dress ups, find other word lists for ly adverbs or band adjectives, band verbs, things like that, symbols and abbreviations. So this resource is good. We don't use it as much as I thought we would, but we pull it out every now and then. I know it's here. So that is the student resource guide. This is a quick reference list. called portable walls, I think, because this would be on like a bulletin board wall, each of these lists. I think that's why it's called portable walls. So it's just a quick folder where they can see their dress up, sentence openers, decorations, triple extensions, ly adverbs, ly imposters, prepositions, substitutes for said, which is a banned word, strong verbs, and then notes on from the different units. So this is very similar to the tools for young writers. So this is just for younger, this is for, let's say, early elementary, upper elementary, and middle and high school. Okay, let's get into structure and style 1A. The way we did structure and style level 1A was on OutSchool. So I thought they were going to be using this exact curriculum, but they didn't. They used alternate texts that you can get that come with structure and style. So if you don't want to read about the dog in the shadow, there would be an alternate text where you can find a different source document to use to teach the same lesson, or you can find something, through a book that you're reading. This is very adaptable in teaching the concepts. But for structure and style, we only listened to, I think, the first 3 or 4 lessons using the CD. And I had already enrolled them in the OutSchool class because I knew that when they were doing this, I was just stretched thin. So I enrolled in the OutSchool class, and then I said, well, let's do this also since I already bought it. But it was very redundant to try to make my children do that. So they learn these same concepts just through a different text, which is why you don't see writing in here. So it's broken down to what part of the video you should watch on each day. So on day 1, you watch, it's about a half an hour. On day 2, another 20 minutes. And then the child would retell the story, making a keyword outline, and then remember to speak it and tell it back on day 4 and 5. And here is where we're integrating Fix-It Grammar lessons, which I'll take you through also. But if you wanted to map this out with Fix-It Grammar, then it tells you exactly what lesson to do each day. They do not tie. It's not like this story goes with a lesson in Fix-It Grammar, but if you just want to have it the pacing, then here it is. All right, so if you like checklists, if your child needs checklists, which mine definitely did, and I am such a spreadsheet person, I ended up putting this into a spreadsheet because once they got into later lessons, they're learning a little bit more. So the checklist goes from a unit 2 being this long to a unit 6 being this long. So I ended up creating a spreadsheet checklist for all of these resources. I'm not sure if that's something that I can share. Otherwise, I would say, hey, it's a freebie, go to my resource. But considering that it's based off of IEW's curriculum, and because they have a software program that you can pay a subscription for to do the checklist, I think it's generally meant for teachers, but it does exist. Just know that there's a piece of paper in here. If you're like, this is all I need, and go ahead and use that as a checklist. I tend to be extremely detailed and wanted to have it all in one file to reference back. So here they talk about prepositional openers, preposition list. I realize I'm flipping backwards, but I just want you to get an idea. So here you're learning to retell a story from pictures. So this is where they're using some of their creativity in IEW, which generally IEW is, here's a text, make a summary. And then you make it your own by using decorations and your ly adverbs and things like that. But in this case, you're taking a picture and the kids can kind of run with it, as long as it's in the general theme. Right, so that is 1A. This is the teacher's manual. It has each of the same pages that's in the student manual, just printed out here smaller with a little bit of a note here. And what's written on the board in the videos is in the teacher's manual as board notes. So you see that throughout so that you can see a little bit closer up and hand off to your child if they need to, or pause the video and they can use this as a resource. That is Structure and Style 1A. With that, let's go over to Fix It Grammar 1, which is the nose tree. My intent for this video was to take you through a quick overview, but apparently I talked too much. So I'm going to start going a little bit faster, and then we'll do a more detailed review of each of this curricula later, and you can check out the link for that, because I really just want you to get an idea of what's in IEW for different levels. Eventually, I'll have a playlist with everything in it. So this is Fix It Grammar Level 1, and I had an extra copy that I got for my younger, because I thought he might be ready for this soon. So I'm ready for it with him. But here's just an example. This is week 15, day 1. There's one vocabulary word, and that is bolded. So they are to look up the word in the dictionary. My children like to look it up on Alexa. As I realized that they were doing that, and there is a list in the teacher's guide of the actual vocabulary words. I didn't want them to just rely on Alexa. I didn't want them to just be searching the web when I say go do this lesson. They're on Google doing something, and they just weren't pulling out the dictionary to do it without me reminding them repeatedly. So I took the list that comes in the teacher's guide that has each of these words. I have it in Google Drive. So they can pull up the Google Drive document and then say, okay, what does weary mean in this sentence? They write the definition up here. So it's teaching them vocabulary, wandered, massive, continued, and it's also teaching the parts of speech and grammar. So they would need to identify 2 articles, 3 nouns, and they would put AR over the nouns. Okay, king, you put an N over that. Pronouns, you put a PR over he. Adjectives, LY adverb, coordinating conjunction, that clause, subject verb pairs, 2 capitals, and 1 end mark is missing. Okay. So after they do that, and they have things written above here, then they would rewrite the entire sentence or sentences with proper punctuation, proper grammar. They would not rewrite AR and PR. They would just write the words as they should be written properly down here. I do have a version of that I can show you. This child has to work a little bit harder on handwriting sometimes, so we have to go back and I just have to remind to take time so they can be legible. Sometimes this child can't even read their own handwriting after doing it, so that's something that we're working through. IEW does not address that at all. It's just me with the reminders, and sometimes instead of trying to multitask, which I do often, I have to remind myself to just sit there with my children, right there next to them, and remind them, okay, what's the first letter you're writing? H, okay, is it capital or lowercase? Already identified here, it's capitalized. So write capital H. What's the next letter? E. Okay, remember to leave a space. So when I do that, even though it's taking more of my one-on-one time with each of them, it is more efficient than them going through and it being illegible to themselves or to me and then having to do it again. So that's just my parenting tip of the day / a reminder to myself. So here's an example. He boldly states that he had 35 apples for sale. They were the tastiest apples in the kingdom. So here, capitalize, write out 35. That is one of the rules that they learn about numbers, what gets written as digits, what gets written into words. Put the proper punctuation there, it was already there. Here it was missing, and they rewrite it. Okay, so that is what Fix It Grammar looks like. This is Nose Tree. We also have, and here's the teacher manual. So it shows you what they should have. It shows you the vocabulary definition, and it gives you a little hint or tip on why, what needed to be changed and why. And then when they rewrite it, it should look like this. When they're finished, they will have an entire story for each of the levels. So the nose tree is a story, but each day they're just writing 1 or 2 sentences that build up to the story. This is what it looks like typed out at the end from my student's manual. So now that I'm looking, I guess this is their answer key. If they ever, I never thought about it. I don't think they noticed it either. If they were just to turn to the end of the book, they would see exactly how each sentence should be written when they're doing this. If you want this here, leave it. My children hadn't caught on to that yet, and it could be a good resource for them to be able to check their own work. Okay, so at the back of the teacher's manual, there's also a glossary. This is the same with multiple levels. But here it's like a quick reference guide, verbs, prepositions, sentences, punctuation, colons, apostrophes, capitalization, sentence openers, decorations. Okay? So that's Fix It Grammar. I love it. My kids don't mind it. For a while, they actually liked it. And my oldest, he actually likes grammar. He doesn't always admit it, but when he does, he's like, oh, I could fix that. Okay, my kiddos are coming home now. I might make this the end of this video, just so that I can get it out today. Hello, darling. Mommy. Yes, we do. We don't love anyone like we love you. When you're near us, boo-hoo. Or mommy, we love you. Oh, I'm still recording. Sorry. Silly, funny face boy. Okay. I think I'm going to make this it for this video because it's long enough already. My kiddos are back from swimming and I need to edit this and get it out to you. So please know that I will let you know exactly how this applies to different personality types, but it'll be on my next video. In short, it works well for people that like checklists, that like structure and organization, clear expectations, and have a step-by-step approach, okay? Things to consider is that if you have really creative writer, my middle child is like that, but she still does this just fine. What would normally be like a one-page assignment, she might make it two because she makes everything so flowery and full. It works for her, but there may be other curriculum that might be better for someone who's a very creative writer. So I will let you know that when I do my next video and finish this review, because as you see, I still have a stack of things there. I have all of this, and my little people are back. IEW is a great, great, great foundation for teaching writing. We may use it all the way through high school, but in the foundational years, I have found it to be wonderful. If you want a closer look at other language arts resources like flip-throughs and deep dives, please make sure you check out the playlist that I'll link below and have on the screen. And if you're a typical homeschool mom, always on the hunt for helpful homeschool tools, please visit teachingthetrifecta.com/toolkit. Everything is linked in the description. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up or drop a comment with your IEW questions or suggestions of what you want to see next. From this type A gone astray, here's to raising kids who cherish beauty in the world and in the people who they meet, who hunger for knowledge and seek wisdom, and who are building the strength of character to make a difference. Thanks for watching.